Hello, my name is Cheryl Meyer, otherwise known as Cheryl M. Health Muse, and I'm also known as your friendly neighborhood health coach. And I want to welcome you to It Feels Good to Feel Good, Future Proof Your Health, which is going to be a weekly show on KGM that shares lifestyle changes that you can make yourself to support your health. Why do I want to share this information with you? 7 years ago, after being a business owner for 20 years, I woke up one morning in just horrific pain, where every bone and every joint in my body hurt. So I went to the doctor. She ran lots of tests, and I went again, and she ran some more, and then I went again, and she ran some more, and finally, she called me and announced she was going to give me steroids, but that there was absolutely nothing wrong with me, and I should seek therapy. I knew there was something wrong. I hurt. So she told me that I would be on steroids for the rest of my life, and I decided I was not going to live a life of pain and pills. Why would I take steroids if there was nothing wrong with me? So I dug in and started to research and turn my business over to my staff. I found a functional MD who confirmed that I had autoimmune disease. And by making a series of significant lifestyle changes that I could do for myself, and these are the things that I want to share with you, 5 years later, I have returned to relative health. The best part is that I am now 70 and I feel better than I did when I was 50. I no longer hurt, which is huge. I will always have autoimmune disease, but losing the pain has been amazing. So I went back to school at 67 and became a health coach because I want to share everything I learned with others. And then I wrote a book called It Feels Good to Feel Good, Learn to Eliminate Toxins, Reduce Inflammation, and Feel Great Again, as the manual that I wish I'd had when I got sick. This book has now won 13 awards. So whether you want to future-proof your health and grow old with dignity and grace without dementia, chronic pain, and disease, or whether you already have a chronic condition like me, of autoimmune, cancer, or heart disease, and you want to learn about all the things you can do to improve your long-term health, or whether you want to improve the health of your families and raise healthy children, because 53% of our children have some kind of chronic condition today. I look forward to sharing all this information with you. It truly does feel good to feel good, so let's get started. I look forward to having you join me every week. Thank you so much. I'm going to be sharing the things that I did not know when I got sick, and hopefully this information will bring you a better tomorrow too. So thank you so much, and let's get started. Hello. Today we're going to talk about why it's important to shop at farmers markets. Last week we talked about all the colors of the rainbow and why it's important to eat all the colors of the rainbow, because each color has a gift for your body, but they need to be eaten all together because together they work synergistically to create health in your body, and how the body really wants to heal, but you have to give it the right stuff in order to do that. And so since we just talked about all the colors of the rainbow, one of the best places to do your shopping is at your local farmers market. Now, we're lucky we live in Southern California, but even if you live in other areas of the country, there are often farmers markets that you can shop at. If you do live someplace where there isn't a farmers market, at least for part of the year, you can buy your produce at the local farmers market. What's the number one reason you should be buying from your local farmers market? Because it's the closest from farm to table that you're going to find unless you actually go out to the farm and pick your own. Farmers markets usually have farmers who have picked it the night before, or even sometimes real early in the morning, and then gotten onto their truck to bring it to market. And so you get the advantage of a newly picked item that is chock full of all of the goodness that it has to offer to you. So I shared that what you really want to do is have 3/4 of your plate each meal to be vegetables, and that ideally half of it should be raw, like a nice big juicy colorful salad, and half of it should be cooked. So by going to the farmer's market, you get all kinds of goodness that's in season that you can buy, that you can make sure that you're getting enough nutrients in your diet. Why is it important to eat in season? A couple of reasons. If you're eating in season, you're buying in abundance, so you're getting the fruit or the vegetable at the best possible price, which is a big win. But you're also getting it in the season when it's loaded with goodness. So I want you to start thinking that it's not important to eat for how it tastes as much as it is to eat for your health. And the taste in natural fruits and vegetables is always terrific. So you're still eating for yumminess, but you're eating for nutrients at the same time. Now, I want you to go to more than one farmer's market because, yep, each one of them carries different things. Here we go to the farmer's market up by the high school in Pasadena, and we get all the vegetables that we want there, and we have a great fishmonger there and a great organic sourdough bread guy. There's an olive oil guy there, and there's a berry person there. So we get all kinds of wonderful things at our farmer's market. We can buy almonds that were picked right at the farm and haven't been pasteurized, which means they didn't go through a process of, believe it or not, formaldehyde, which is what they do to most commercially sold almonds so that you kill anything that's going on with that almond. There's lots of reasons to buy from the farmer themselves. But when we go to other farmers markets, we find other things. We went to the farmers market in Irvine and found a yummy sea salt that has Italian herbs in it. So now I order directly from them because I love that sea salt. There was a farmer's market that I went to with a girlfriend that was down in Costa Mesa, and I found a source for avocado oil, which is a great oil to cook with because it is got a high cooking point, so you don't have to worry about that, whereas you don't want to ever do high cooking in olive oil because it has a low smoke point. So each farmer's market has different things going on. We have a second house in Sedona. We actually frequent two different farmer markets in Sedona. One is down in Camp Verde, and there's somebody there who does all their own canning. They grow all their own organic vegetables. They retired. This is what they wanted to do in retirement, and I especially love them because they will make me my own V8 juice without all the chemicals that are in commercially produced V8, and it's terrific. But there's also a rancher there who's got autoimmune disease, and he is very picky about what he actually feeds his cows, and his meat is half the price of Whole Foods and twice as delicious. So each place that you go will have different offerings. If we go to the Sedona Farmers Market up in town, there's somebody there who cans strawberries and blueberries so that when they're not in season, I have them in my pantry, and I use those to make syrup that's very low in sugar so that we can have almond pancakes and still be healthy. So get to know all your farmers markets. We did look up, we live here in the San Gabriel Valley. We looked up how many farmers markets are there in the San Gabriel Valley, and there were more than 20 of them just in our little nook of Los Angeles. And I have been to farmers markets at a Toluca Lake and at Burbank. I have been to other farmers markets as well as the ones I mentioned down in Orange County. And really, each one has interesting things. And one of the things I love about it is, in spite of the fact that John and I eat very clean, when we go to farmers markets, we're foodies. We find all kinds of wondrous things that we can buy to eat that still stay with how we're sticking to a very healthy diet. So that's one of the big pluses of going to a farmer's markets. One of our favorite things that we find at our farmer's market up in Pasadena, and it's seasonal, and we're not in the season anymore, but it's really a treat when we can find it, and those are zucchini blossoms. I don't know if you've ever seen a zucchini blossom, but the blossom itself is a fairly large flower, and they come male and female, believe it or not, but it's got a little tiny bit of zucchini on the bottom of it. I love it when they come. The farmer gets kind of annoyed because every week I start going, where are the zucchini blossoms? Are they ready? And when they come, we buy way more than we can eat because we make them all up and we eat them all for several nights because they're that yummy. So what I do is I open up the zucchini blossoms and I make a mixture out of almond ricotta that I put a little bit of marinara sauce in, and then I add some organic seasonings that are Italian, and then I stuff them and fold the flour over the stuffing, and then I dip them in egg and organic flour, all-purpose baking flour, and I fry them up in ghee. They are unbelievably delicious. And then I throw them in the oven and keep them hot until I get the rest of the batch done. And then we drizzle just a little bit of marinara sauce on them and we eat them. They are incredibly nutritious. They are organic, so I'm not getting a healthy dose of pesticides and herbicides with them. And they're very different. And so we thoroughly enjoy them when they're available at the farmer's market. And when I'm dipping anything in eggs, I'm only using pastured free-run eggs. I can buy those at our local grocery stores. I buy a brand called Vital Farms. But you can also find pastured eggs from chickens that have gotten to run around the field and eat their natural diet, which is what you're looking for. You want chickens that have not been confined, they've only been protected from the weather. You want them to be able to eat grass and berries and insects because that's what makes their eggs the most delicious and the most nutritious. In fact, I have a phrase that I have picked up from somebody's marketing that I saw, that I eat nutritious, delicious, and never suspicious. And by shopping at a farmer's market, you get to do that. So remember that. You want to eat nutritious, delicious, and never suspicious. All those herbicides and pesticides are too suspicious to go into your body. I have a organic seasoning that I like to use when I'm making the zucchini blossoms, by the way. And it's going to sound odd that I add it to this, but I use Primal Palate steak seasoning as my secret weapon. It's got just a little bit of pepper in it and a little bit of zing, and it's what makes all of my dishes really tasty. So I use that. I use organic garlic powder, organic onion powder for my seasoning, and all of that I get from Primal Palate whenever possible because I think they're the best quality for those kinds of seasonings. They're amazing. So that sort of tells you where we're getting our food from. It really helps. And then what is it that I look for when I go to any farmer's markets? Well, for one thing, we buy the beef from the autoimmune guy at the one farmer's market. At the farmer's market uptown in Sedona, we get lamb that was just slaughtered, and it is so mild that it almost melts in your mouth. It's absolutely delicious. I'm not always a big fan of lamb because sometimes the taste, if it's getting old, gets a little strong for me. But if you're buying from a farmer's market, that's all gone and you get to taste the really prime, delicious lamb. And again, lambs like to eat grass, so you're lucky there. So pretty much they're eating their natural diet all the time, and so they're eating an organic diet. Cows, however, they don't always get to eat what their natural diet is, which is you want a grass-fed, grass-finished cow that you're going to get your meat from because of a couple of reasons. He gets to eat what he's supposed to, and he has not been inhumanely treated on his way to be butchered, so you're also not getting his stress hormones when you're eating his meat, which is important. There are times of the year in Sedona where we can get heirloom pig and pork. We haven't been in Sedona when that has been available, so I look for it at Whole Foods or other places, but I also try to get my pork that is from a natural pastured diet as well. The chickens would be free-run pastured chickens, happens to be a sensitivity for me, so I don't get to eat it. But when you're looking for chicken, he's going to be a skinnier dude than what you normally find because he has not been stuffed with hormones and things that have made him fat and made him, even the turkeys are stuffed with stuff that's not good for them, growth hormones, so that they grow to an unrealistic size for a natural turkey or a natural chicken. So buy as clean as you possibly can when you're buying these things. It makes a difference. We always buy onions and garlic when we go to the farmer's market. I have read some articles that are a little frightening about how even organic garlic is grown and what it's grown in, and I'm not going to go into it now. But by buying at a farmer's market, you know you're getting clean garlic that was grown in a clean way, and that's what you want. Onions and garlic are also really good for you because they're prebiotics. Prebiotics are things that feed your probiotics that are in your gut, and you want healthy probiotics, so you feed them prebiotics, and onions and garlic are in that family. There are other things like jicama and artichokes. There's a whole list, and you need to make sure you eat the prebiotics so that you have healthy, happy probiotics in your gut. But I cook with onion and garlic all the time, so that's a big source of prebiotics for us. You can find different varieties of fruits and vegetables at your farmer's market than you normally would find at your grocery store. To start out, you can get all kinds of apples that you probably never heard of. And sometimes they're not perfect, and that's okay. They have little hiccups sometimes, and that's okay. They come really sweet, they come kind of sweet, and then they come sour, and then they come super sour. I love the super sour if I'm going to make a pie or I'm going to make applesauce, because that sourness is what brings out all the goodness of the applesauce or the apple pie. But I really enjoy, I'm not crazy about sweet apples, I'm not crazy about the delicious, but all of the apples in between down to the really sour ones are available at different farmers markets. So it's a great way to add variety to the varieties that you're used to buying. And if you're buying at a farmer's market, you're probably not getting a genetically modified apple, which is out there. And just to remind you, if you don't remember, a genetically modified apple is one of two things. It either has Bt toxin that has been bred right into it, so that when some kind of a bug bites it, it blows its little tummy up. And unfortunately, it's also blowing up all the good gut bacteria in your gut, so you don't want that. Or it has been sprayed with so much Roundup because it's been made Roundup ready, and apples get all kinds of bugs. So you want somebody who has grown their apples in a more natural way, because you don't need a healthy dose of toxins when you're eating an apple. We also take a look and buy local honey at farmers markets. Now, why do we look for local honey? We have local honey both in our Sedona home and here. And the reason to buy local honey is if you have any kind of hay fever, by eating little tiny bits of local honey on a regular basis, your system will build up an immunity to whatever's in the air, and it will lower your reaction when you are in hay fever season. So we eat little bits of honey in whichever location that is specific to that location, and you can find that at your farmer's market. It's very unlikely that you're going to find that at your grocery store. I buy berries at the farmer's market that's close to us here in Pasadena. They're the most beautiful berries in the world, and nothing's better than berries for your body. They're really good for you. They're low in sugar. They're loaded with goodness. They're loaded with anti-cancer properties. So you want to eat as many berries as you can when they're in season. And blueberries you should be buying and freezing, because they even get healthier for your body if you freeze them, because something happens in the freezing process that breaks down the skin. So when you take those out of the freezer and you use them, your body's even getting more goodness from the fruit. Strawberries are delicious frozen. So even as a kid, we used to go with my mother to the farm and pick strawberries. which was fabulous because then when we got home, we would clean them all, we would cut them up, and we would freeze them so that all winter long we had strawberries available to us. And frozen strawberries are quite yummy. So that extended the growing period so that we had, and I was in Pennsylvania as a little kid, so we had strawberries to eat all year round. We have an olive guy at our local farmers market here. So I've learned all about all different kinds of olives and how it makes the olive oil taste different. I like to buy California olive oil because California olive oil hasn't been cut with all the nasty vegetable oils that the mafia is putting into Italian and Spanish olive oil. Now, you can get good olive oil from Spain and from Italy, but you have to look for a certification because the mafia is making a fortune by cutting the olive oil with lesser grades of vegetable oils. And you don't want to be eating any of the lesser vegetable oils because, again, they're genetically modified. So stay away from the corn oil and the soy oil and the safflower oil. They're not good for you. And canola oil, you don't want it. It's from Rafe. I read an article that it's from Canada and they named it canola for Canada and Ola because they thought it made it sound healthy because it rhymes with granola. So don't be eating a lot of canola oil. You should be using olive oil whenever possible on your salads. You should be cooking with avocado oil, coconut oil, or ghee because they all have high smoke points and that's when your food is at its finest. You don't want to have something that's been burned that turns into a carcinogen before it gets into your mouth. You can buy all kinds of eggs at a farmer's market. You can get duck eggs and goose eggs and chicken eggs. You can get brown chicken eggs and white chicken eggs. And I get asked a lot, is there a difference in quality between the brown guys and the white guys? No, there's not. It's the same egg, it's just from a different variety of chicken. But it's kind of fun to mix it up and have some of the other kinds of eggs. And my husband will eat anything. So he has no hesitation to try a different kind of egg that we can get at a farmer's market. We can also buy all different kinds of mushrooms at our farmers markets. Lots more different varieties than I normally find in the grocery store. And they're fun to work with. And that's another way to add variety to what you're eating. Those are white vegetables. They have all kinds of healthy properties in them for you as well. So add mushrooms into your diet whenever you can because they add a little bit of goodness to you as well. You're getting things in season when you go to a farmer's market, and you're getting things that are in abundance as a result of that. So supply and demand says when you're buying in season and you're buying when they're in abundance, you're getting them at the best possible price, which is a big plus. And even though you might be in a different area than I'm in, I bet you have wondrous finds at your own farmers markets as well. So make it an adventure and visit more than one and find out what all the wonderful offerings are at each of the farmers markets. One note, make sure that you plan to eat what you buy quickly because when they're directly organic from the farm to your farmer's market, they're going to spoil much more quickly than what you're used to. Nothing has been added to them to slow down how quickly they ripen. So you want to buy them with the intent that you're going to eat them, especially tomatoes. Tomatoes can ripen so quickly you can almost blink and they're ripe, but they are so delicious when you buy them from the farmer's market. And tomatoes are the one place that I think it's worth it to spend a little bit more to get a really good tomato because the difference is night and day to one of those tomatoes that is still organic, but that's come in from a farm long away that was picked too early and kind of like you could bounce it on the floor and have it come back up to meet your hand. Those are not the best tomatoes. You haven't lived until you've eaten a tomato that's directly from the farm. So make sure that's part of what you look for. Okay, so what are the advantages of shopping from a farmer's market? It's the closest that you're going to get from farm to table unless you shop directly at the farm. My mother actually used to take us sometimes directly to the farm, but I've really always been a city girl, so farmers markets are way more convenient. You can get to know your farmer. Number two, why is that important? It's important to get to know your farmer because you can talk to him about how he grows his vegetables. Is he spraying them with glyphosate, which is Roundup, which now has been proven to be a carcinogen and that you don't want in your body? Probably not. But ask him how he is doing it. There are some plants that they actually plant around plants that the bugs don't like, that repel the bugs, or there may be some other methods that they use so that you're okay buying their produce because they're not sprayed with all the nasty chemicals. And that's what you want. So you can also go to the farm. A lot of these farmers would be delighted to have you visit them right at the farm. And as a city girl, it's always interesting to me to go and see exactly what the farming practices are. Often, the price is lower when you go to a farmer's market than when you're buying from your local grocer. So that's another good reason to buy at your farmer's market. I want you to try going early to your local farmers market because that's when their best selection is. Or try going late a couple of times and see if the farmer has actually marked down what he brought to the farmers market. Sometimes they've brought it in and they don't want to take it home. So at the end of the farmers market, they start to mark it down so you can get even better deals if you go late and you negotiate with the farmer. So keep that in mind. Not all farmer markets allow that, but it's worth checking out to see if yours does. There's often a local rancher there, as I mentioned. You might be able to get your beef, your chicken, your lamb, and your pork there. And that meat is really delicious, and it doesn't have all the antibiotics and the hormones and the crud that they're putting into conventional meat. And he has been treated more humanely, and that's a biggie because you have enough of your own stress hormones. You don't need the animals. There are other lovely things that are sold at farmers markets. You can buy worms at ours in case you want to do your own farming on your own vegetable garden. You can buy compost at farmers markets. Often you can buy plants for your own yard and for your own little plot right at the farmers market. All of those are biggies. We buy canned jams and jellies made with less sugar and better, more organic fruit at ours in Sedona, so that's a big plus. And as noted above, we also find organic bread both at our Pasadena Farmers Market and also at our Camp Verde Farmers Market in Sedona. It's south of Sedona, but it's in the Sedona area. And the organic breads in Sedona are out of this world delicious. So look for things like that because you're eating healthy, but you're eating healthy from things that are super yummy. And you're not going to find some of these things in your local grocery store. And then I also said that you can get canned berries, which are in big mason jars, or you can buy tons of berries and freeze your own. Farmers markets are a great place to find like-minded people. John and I do not eat the standard American diet. And so because of that, we eat different than most of our friends. That doesn't mean we don't eat out with our friends. And a lot of times I'll just invite them over for dinner, or I'll go to their house for dinner and they know that I eat clean. So they will either ask what to cook for me, and I recommend a couple of cookbooks, or I'll just take my own food and everybody can share in it, but then I eat my food because there's things put in other people's foods that I can't afford to put in my body since I have autoimmune disease and I don't want to get a flare. But at the farmer's market, you find people who are thinking just like you and they're living the clean lifestyle that you are. And the more you surround yourself with people who are eating like you are, the easier it is to stay the course and make sure that you can control what's going into your mouth because your body deserves only the finest. So don't stop doing that. Find the finest to put into your body and surround yourself with people who want to do that too. And the biggie, which I want to repeat, is that by going to a farmer's market, you are buying as close to the farm as possible, and you're going to eat all of the colors of the rainbow, and you're going to eat in season. And all of that is super important. Each color has a gift for your body, and the colors work together synergistically to bring you health. Real food heals. I'd love for you to write that down and put it on your refrigerator. You will raise a healthy family, and you will create health in your own body if you eat real live food. So if you live in an area that doesn't have a year-round farmer's market, what do? Let's talk about other ways to save on food. First of all, I want to have you start not buying into the myth that healthy food costs more, because that's not true, or that it takes too much time to cook. I can cook dinner in 30 minutes or less. It would take me longer to get in my car and zip over to a fast food place and stand in line and pick up the fast food and bring it home than it does for me to make dinner. So it does not take longer, and it may not be as cheap as buying fast food, but it certainly is way better for my body. So instead of asking why real live food is so expensive, I want you to start asking why fast food and processed food are so cheap. Because they're cheap, because they're inferior quality ingredients that you're putting into your body. And the more you cook with real live food, the better off your body is. And it doesn't take if you do this for just 3 weeks, you'll start to notice how terrific your body is feeling, because you're feeding it what it's been begging for all along. And you will notice a remarkable difference probably in your health. I did. So if you don't want the American standard diet, which is loaded with chemicals and toxins and synthetic ingredients that have no food value and are often purposely addictive, then you need to figure out how to cook and eat healthy food. So let's start with that. Let's change how you think about eating healthy. Secondly, figure it out. Ask how many steps did it require for food to get from the farm to your fork and into your body. Because fast food makes its pit stop, and processed food makes a pit stop in a factory. And Michael Pollan, who is one of the world's most famous cooks, said if it has to stop at a factory on its way to your mouth, skip it. Your body doesn't want it. You want food that goes directly from the farm to your fork. That's where you're going to get the biggest bonus for your body. So that's what you need to start thinking about, and your body will congratulate you for it. It also ends up being cheaper if you eat real food, because down the line, you're not going to get sick. And if you eat all the crap and all of the synthetic ingredients that are in fast food and processed food, eventually it's going to take a toll on your body, and you're going to get illness. We are 37th in the world in health in this country, and 53% of our children have some kind of chronic illness. I went all through the statistics in an earlier show. How can we reverse those statistics? We can stop eating for convenience and start eating for nutrients. It will make all the difference of the world. And I don't know what's going to happen with health insurance, and we're sure not going to talk about it on this show, but if you want to protect your family from all of that, start feeding them live food, because you will stay healthier longer and you won't need to use health insurance so much. So start to consider that your health insurance policy. I'm not telling you not to have health insurance, you will always need it, but start eating so that you stay well, which is a whole different way to look at your body. Learn to read labels. Pay attention to the order that the ingredients are in the label and what's in them. I have a rule. If I can't pronounce it, I put it back. If I can't pronounce it, I don't know what it is. And if I don't know what it is, which may be something I can't pronounce or might be something as innocuous as natural flavors. Do you know what natural flavors often are? MSG. Now, I would bet you that most of us know that MSG is bad for our body. So what did they do about that? They repackaged it and they remarketed it and they call it 39 different names on processed food. You don't need any of it. MSG is a neurotoxin, so you don't need that in your body. So if you don't know what it is, trust me, your body doesn't know what it is either. So pass. The most abundant ingredient on the label, they're done in order. The most abundant ingredient on the label is the first ingredient mentioned. So if that first ingredient is fructose or cane sugar, you don't need that in your body because it's going to do not such nice things to your body. So take a look what you want. Even if you're buying something canned or jarred, you want all of them to be real live food ingredients. So start eating for your health, and it doesn't have to taste bad. You can learn to make really yummy things and also have it be healthy. I am living proof of that because we like to eat way too much not to have yummy meals at night. The basic of food, which I want you to accept, is that it's fuel for the body. That's the most important thing that food can do for you. Good fuel will make you feel energetic, clear-headed, and healthy. Bad food might taste good in your mouth. They actually make food so that it has fake ingredients that taste yummy and are addictive to get you to crave to eat more. So bad food might taste good in your mouth, but it typically results in feelings of bloating, overstuffed, drops in energy, fuzzy thinking, and cravings for more bad food. Your body will tell you that bad food doesn't agree with it. So I want you to start to ask your body, how does it feel? Had I been asking my body, how did it feel, I would have figured out I was getting sick long before my toxic load went over the top and into disease. So I want you to start asking your body now, how does it feel that you just ate whatever that was that you ate? If you're eating nutrients, your body's going to say, hey, I'm feeling good. I'm awake. I'm ready to go. I'm energetic. I'm productive. All of those things. If you're eating bad food, you're probably, you're lethargic. It's laying like a log in your stomach. It's making you feel kind of ill. And yet still you want to eat more because the food that you ate actually was conditioned to turn off the hormones in your body that control how hungry you are. So you don't even know that you're full and your body's screaming more and you feel stuffed, but you for some reason want to eat more anyway. It's an addiction. It's not your fault, but if you stop eating that crud, your body will stop screaming for more and you will start eating real food and you'll start feeling really terrific. If you read my first book and you're now listening to me, then you know that eating real food without all the toxins is super important. I comment that I asked a farmer about it and he said, you think organic food is expensive? Try costing out the price of cancer. That's where the heavy cost and expense is. And I have a new theory since I got sick and I've learned all that. If you don't want to get cancer and you don't want to get autoimmune disease and you don't want to have a heart attack because one of your parents did or some relative did, start eating today like you have one of those conditions. Because if you start eating today like you have that, you're never going to go there. We think that genetics has pre-programmed us to what we're going to get. And there's a whole new world out there called epigenetics that says, that's not true. Your genetics are a blueprint that your body can follow, but a blueprint doesn't mean that's how you have to build your house. You control what the environment is that goes into your body. So if you're giving your body all kinds of luscious nutrients, then you're not following the blueprint, you're not turning the switch on for disease, and you can live long and thrive. And that's one of the big lessons about the Blue Zone project from National Geographic, which is where people live to be really quite old in their hundreds without disease and without dementia. And John and I choose that we want to live as healthy as we can till the end. So that over everything else makes it worthwhile that we're eating the way that we're eating. So it's the best way to ensure that your children will stay well and grow up healthy and strong. And finally, I want you to teach your children by example. My husband likes to say that children are like little pitchers. All the things that you say go into their little heads, and then they start to mimic that. So if you're talking about health in your family and you're feeding your children healthy, hopefully your children will become ambassadors of healthy eating when they're out and about with their own friends. I met a woman who is running a whole website called Heal Verde Valley in Sedona, and she's got 2 little kids that were born with a pretty significant toxic load, which is not unusual. Children are now being born with close to 300 toxins right from the umbilical cord, so they got a heavy toxic load right from the beginning. And she had 2 children that had inherited a heavy toxic load from her. But one of the things that she's done is she instilled a healthy food impression on their little brains. So when they go to their grandmother's house and their grandmother tries to feed them some kind of processed food that they don't get at home, they literally turn to her and say, "Grandma, we don't eat that. We eat good food." Now, these are kids who are less than 5. So if you can do that with 5-year-olds, wow, think of what you could do to bring your children up healthy. Now, I did make a comment about the Food Babe on Facebook that she wants to clean up ingredients that are cruddy in the first place in processed food, and I just don't want you to eat that stuff in the first place. But she responded to me that when her daughter gets to school, she no longer can control what her daughter is eating, and so if her daughter is given one of these processed foods with icky ingredients, she wants the processed food to be as clean as possible. I get that. But I would like you to instill upon your child as much as possible. Make them a little junior ranger that eats healthy. I have a junior veggie ranger program coming up where I want the kids to rejoice that they're in a program where they eat healthy, and I want them to be the influencers with all their kids. So I want you to be part of my tribe that does that as well. Okay, so we still have some time. I want to go through other ways to save on healthy food. The first one is in our area here in California, and it's called imperfect produce. It's not everywhere in the country, but a lot of areas in the country do have it. If you don't have an imperfect produce, you probably have a service called Misfits that's very similar. And what these 2 services are, they're buying up organic fruits and vegetables that have hiccups. They're not perfect. That little dents in the side or little nodules on them, but they are beautiful in terms of nutrition, and they have a full load of nutrients, and they're getting picked at a local farm that has signed on to be part of the program. So not only do you get great produce for less, it gets delivered to your house, which I love, and you're saving food waste, because all of this stuff used to get thrown away, and now it's getting sold to you at a reduced price. So what a great way to save on organic vegetables. It's worth it. So imperfect produce or Misfits, you can get great produce at a reduced price. So that's a great thing. Next, shop at your farmers markets. When you're buying directly from the farmer, you've taken out a step on the way to the grocery store. So you're often buying at a better price than you can at your local Whole Foods or Sprouts or whatever you've got in your area. You can buy a community-supported agriculture CSA program. I know there's one here in Pasadena. They're all over the country, and that's where you buy a little portion of whatever it is that they're growing. You have a little, it's like you have a stock certificate in what's being grown. So you pay up front and you go pick up what they have for you each week, and that's a CSA. It's a shared program. There are CSAs for vegetables and fruits. There are CSAs for meats, chicken and eggs, And there's also sometimes CSAs for all your animal-based products. CSAs can be found by searching eatwellguide.org, all one word, eatwellguide.org, or local harvest, all one word, .org/CSA. Next, you can join a local organic co-op. The basic idea there is to place a bulk order with organic suppliers as a group in order to obtain the best wholesale prices, and then you divide the produce between the group members, passing along the savings. You don't get a say in what's in the box, but the advantage of that is you're going to get things that you wouldn't normally buy, but that if you have them and you learn how to make them properly, might just be yummy. One of the things that we got in a box were Jerusalem artichokes. They're really weird looking little roots, but they're prebiotics for one thing, and if you clean them and you bake them with some ghee and some seasonings, I use garlic powder and onion powder on everything, and a little bit of my secret steak salt. They are really delicious, and they kind of remind me of potatoes, but it's a whole new adventure in food that I never would have experienced had I not gotten them from that kind of a service. So be a little bit more adventuresome and figure out how to eat things that you get. The other thing that I got that I had never eaten is okra. And okra to me was always kind of slimy, but I've learned to make okra in a way where I slice it up, I shake it in a bag with ghee and spices, I lay it out on a baking sheet, and I get them kind of crunchy at a high heat in the oven, and they are yummy. So don't be afraid to try something that you haven't tried before if you join a service like that, because you just might thank yourself that you ate that and put that in your mouth. If you have a local Costco, they have great prices on organic. Your Trader Joe's has great prices on organic. Check your local grocer. All of our local grocers here in Southern California now carry organics, and I would bet that's true pretty much across the country. Buy in season. That's where you get the better prices. Remember, supply and demand. Purchase unpackaged. The more you buy in bulk, you're not buying all that packaging, which frankly the earth can't handle anyway. So buy unpackaged, because that way you're getting a better price, because there has been no labor or packing supplies that have gone in to making it easy for you to pick up. I think that one of the things that's happened to us all is we're buying for convenience and not for the health of our planet or the health of our bodies. So think about what you're doing so that you make steps that will protect your body and protect the earth every step of the way. Pick your own. Farmers across the country. Some of my best memories are going with my mom to the farm and picking. Being a city girl, for me it was a thrill, and I bet your kids would really enjoy it too. I know we used to go to apple country here, out towards the desert, and pick our own apples. There are cherries that you can go pick around here in Southern California. You can go to Pear Valley and pick your own pears. There are things that you can do that will instill a healthy respect in your children, that where their food comes from. There was a study not long ago that was in the Washington Post that kids today think that chocolate milk comes from brown cows. And the point of the article was our kids don't know where our food comes from anymore. And that's pretty sad. So you don't want your kids not to know where their food comes from. Take them out to the farm and let them pick it, and get them a healthy respect of how much that piece of fruit or that food goes through before it lands on their plate, because that's a good thing for them to know and understand. Prioritize that organic dairy, bone broths, gelatin, lentils, bread, and wheat products are on your list, because buying those organic will keep your glyphosate levels down. And you want to keep your glyphosate levels as low as possible, because you don't want Roundup in your body. What happens when Roundup's in your body? Not only is it poisoning you, but Roundup is creating minerals right out of the earth before the plant can get at them. and then the chemicals come up through the plant, so it gets into your gut. And then when it's in your gut, it's creating all the good minerals right back out of your body before you get to absorb them. So you're not getting all of the great nutrition that you should be getting from that conventionally grown plant in the first place, and you're getting all the toxins with it. And if it's got Bt toxin in it, then that's the gift that keeps on giving, because it replicates in your gut and you don't want it. So stay away from GMOs, stay away from anything sprayed with Roundup. And how do you know what to stay away from? This is not the GMO chart, that's a separate chart. But on my website, you can find this card under free stuff. This is called the Dirty Dozen Clean 15, and it's one of the most important things you can take with yourself to the farmer's market or to the grocery store. If it's on this side of the card, these are the 17 things now. It's no longer a dirty dozen now, it's a dirty 17 that have the most poisons on them. These can have as many as 76 poisons on them. A potato, as an example, has 39 poisons on them, and the majority of those poisons are neurotoxins. So you don't want them in your body. So if it's on the dirty side, you only buy it organic. But that helps you save a lot of your money, because a lot of fruits and vegetables aren't on the dirty list. If it's on the clean 15 side, knock yourself out. You don't have to buy it organic. You can buy it conventional without worrying for a second that you're going to get a healthy dose of toxin with those. And then there's all the fruits and vegetables in between, where you get to decide if you want to buy organic or you want to buy conventional. There is another list that I'm going to put right underneath this on my website, which is CherylMHealthMuse.com, which are what things are genetically modified, because you also want to avoid those like the plague, because those are the things that either have Bt toxin in them or they're loaded with glyphosate. We'll go through the rest of my money-saving things next week in our next show, because I've used up all our time. But I hope you've learned a lot from this, because if you eat the right foods, your body will start to celebrate. I like to say your body likes to sing. My body really began to sing when I started feeding it correctly. And I had gone from a woman who couldn't get out of bed because everything in my body hurt, to have it being a woman whose body was happy that I was eating the things I was eating. And it's 7 years later, and I have no pain, and that's huge. Now, toxins come in all varieties. They don't just come on our food, but start with food, because what you put in your body is what you become. And it's important that you eat clean meat, because you become what your animal eats. So this is all really important. You need to make sure that you value yourself enough, wherever possible, that you're eating clean fruits and vegetables and clean and healthy meats, so that you can raise children that thrive, and you and your husband can thrive as well. I don't want Alzheimer's, so it's worth it every way that I'm eating so healthy and clean. So thank you for listening to me. I'll be back next week with another show about how to be healthy. It's important that you future-proof your health by listening and adopting this information. So remember, it feels good to feel good. Thank you.